Okay, so I want to just show you a few things. So I've added a few files to my GitHub repository. Okay, so this is the folder that I have on my computer, and I have pushed these changes to GitHub. Okay, and it looks like a lot of you, but not all of you. I've got 45 forks here, and I think there's close to 80 of you enrolled. So over half of you have forked it, but some of you have not. Okay, so please follow the instructions, and I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So I am over here. I'm pretending to be a different computer and a different person. So this is me pretending to be a student. So this is pretending to be your account. And so while I'm logged in under my alternate account, I'm going to come over to the class repository, which is right here. Okay. And from the class repository, I'm going to click this fork button. Okay. And so it's forking, and it's going to show up under my own account here. And so now it has these files, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this into my computer over here. So this is, again, I'm simulating this to be my local computer. I don't have anything. I'm going to clone the repository into here. So I'm going to do git clone. And paste this address. Okay, so again, the address that you paste when you clone your forked repository should have your username and not Smiles Chen. Okay, and then I go ahead and I do this, and I hit enter, and it's cloning. And so now all of this stuff it now appears here. I can change into that folder, and it contains all of the material that's on here. Now, probably when you cloned it, for most of you, for these 45 students who have cloned this, it doesn't have the material for lectures 1-3. So what I want to show you is, what do I do? So over on me as the professor, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just make a new file just to kind of demonstrate this. This will be called demo2.txt. All right, and then this is, I'm going to just add something here. I'm going to just say content. I'm going to click save and close out of that. And we are going to go to git bash over here. Okay. And so this is on my computer. And if I do git status, I've got demo2.txt. I'm going to do git add. Whoops. Add dot. Add all of the changes. Git commit -m. New content after fork. After well, yeah, okay. After fork demonstration. Okay, and then I push this. I do git push. All right, so this has now been pushed, and if I refresh this, okay, we can see demo2.txt has appeared on the GitHub repository. Okay, demo2, which now says added new content. This appears there, and again, on my machine over here, on the quote unquote student's machine over here, demo2 does not appear as an object. So what we need to do is we need to set an upstream repository. Okay, so here I've got git remote -v, and right now there's only it only has a red shirt prof, and so what I need is I need that command. That's how we add the upstream. Let's see. So we're going to add the upstream. The upstream is this. So I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to do git remote. We're going to add an upstream repository, and the address for the repository is this. Okay, so let me just do git remote -v. Okay, and so now it has this as the upstream repository. And so I'm going to do, so now that it's been configured with the upstream repository, using git remote add upstream and pasting in the address, I'm going to do git pull upstream main, because that is the name of the branch that we're looking at, the main branch in the upstream repository, the upstream pointing to Smiles Chen, the kind of the professor's account here. So this is the address, git pull upstream main. Oh, I've got, I'm sorry, I need to, live demonstrations are always dangerous here. I think, upstream, do I have to, now I'm, repository. Let me just check here. Remove, so we add this, yeah, we just remove it. So, making mistakes here. Remote add upstream. I'm gonna paste in this address. I hope this works here. Let's see. Git remote add upstream. Just check my configuration. All right, so I'm going to try git pull upstream main. Make sure you have the correct access rights. We'll just check some git fetch upstream. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't not pull. You can fetch it, and I think probably my old configuration would have worked there. I'm using the wrong command. I'm using pull does a fetch and a merge together. So I'm gonna have to modify some of my instructions. But you're gonna do git fetch upstream, and then we will do git merge upstream. Okay, there we go. Now it works. Okay, so you have to do, you have to write two commands. I apologize. So if you're trying to follow along, there's two commands you're going to do. So once you have it configured, right? So if you have git remote -v, and I think this part could either be the HTTPS or the SSH thing with the git, and you're going to do git fetch. I'm sorry. So git space fetch space upstream, and this will search for new changes. Right now, there's no new changes, but we're going to do git fetch upstream, and then you're going to do git merge upstream master, and there's going to be, if there's new content, it will merge in. So let me just kind of just push some additional content, right? Added new content. Here's the second line over here. We're going to save this. I'm going to add that, and we're going to commit this. Just making minimal changes here. Some more changes. Okay, and then I push this. So again, over on here, demo 2 now has additional stuff. And if I check here, if I look at demo2.txt, which exists here. It has just only added new content. It doesn't have the second line. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do git fetch upstream. And then we're going to do git merge upstream main / main. Okay, so sorry, git fetch upstream and git merge upstream / main. And now demo2.txt has the additional content, right? Added new content, and here's a second line, right? So so what I need to change is under fetching new content from, we're going to do git upstream.
Sorry, Professor.
Merge. Yes, question.
This is what you would do like every time you start working with this repository?
So
like,
this is what you would do pretty much. So for the rest of the quarter, I, the professor, am going to be pushing new content to GitHub rather than putting it on Canvas. Okay. And this will, like, you know, I'll put multiple files and things like that. And then to download that new content onto your computer, you're going to just type in 2 commands: git fetch upstream. This will tell your computer to go on GitHub and search for new content. And then you want to merge it to your local repository. And so you're going to do this every single time. And here, when I did a fetch and a merge, it says it's already up to date. Okay.
thank you.
Every time I update this and I push these new commits, these commands, git fetch upstream and git fetch upstream main, and git merge upstream main will be used to download the new material. Okay, so I'm gonna, over here, I changes, I commit them. And so over here, I have a new commit over here. And over here on your computer, you're going to do git fetch upstream, git merge upstream / main. And that will say, okay, there's new content being added. And that will be it. Now, if you want to push it to your local repository, not your local, your own GitHub repository, then you can do push. And this, and so now here's my remote repository, which doesn't have demo 2 and only has 5 commits. I can refresh this, and now it has demo 2 and it has all 8 commits, the same commits that I have over here. Okay, it looks like some of you have forked the repository as I was speaking, and my hope is that this is working, the fetching and the merging. Okay, and again, you can always come to office hours if things are troubling you. When I check Canvas, and I click home here, I don't know. Somewhere over here. Okay, it looks like several of you have submitted GitHub, but a decent number of you have not. So the number who have responded to the academic integrity agreement is much, much higher than those who have done the GitHub. So I just kind of want to check in and see how you guys are doing with that. And I think I already know the answer. And I guess, would it benefit to have like 1 extra day to complete the GitHub assignment? Okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll extend the, I'll change the deadline for part one GitHub. So I'll just go ahead and I'll do that right now. Maybe I'll change the deadline here. We'll push it to, I'll give you a couple extra days, but do try to do this, okay? And then, yeah, there's no office hours today. I will have office hours tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., but no office hours on Mondays or Fridays or Sundays. Those are my office hour free days. Okay. All right. So I've given you a couple extra days to do the GitHub portion of the assignment. Okay. You should have also received an invitation from Data Camp, and hopefully you can see the assignments and do it. I know there were some issues, but I talked to support and they said they got it fixed, and so hopefully it's working. If things aren't working, you know, let us know in Campus Wire, and we'll try to figure things out there. Okay, is that okay with everybody? So now if you've done the fetch upstream and you've done this and you list off, you should now have these files, 1-3 Jupyter basics.pdf, along with the HTML slides and the raw IPython notebook. So all of this stuff should be here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go open the slides.html. Or I suppose I could also open the PDF, which is quite similar, but I'm going to just go ahead and use slides.html here. Let me open Jupyter Lab here. So the way we get Jupyter Lab running, type in Jupyter Lab. You can also run Jupyter Notebook, but I'm a little partial to Jupyter Lab. Occasionally Jupyter Lab will crash and things, but I think it's pretty good. And I've got the today's file already open here. Okay, but in Jupyter Lab, you'll just kind of open up whichever folder you are working in. You can kind of navigate there, and it will open up. All right, but I've already kind of published this as a slideshow, and so let's go ahead and take a look. Okay. So this is kind of how we are going to interact with Python. Is we are going to interact through Jupyter Lab, and Jupyter Lab basically runs a web server on your computer, and you interact to this instance of Jupyter running via your web browser. So you're going to be basically doing all of your work inside your web browser. So you'll open up, you know, whatever, Chrome, Safari, something like that, Firefox, it doesn't matter. Edge, they all kind of work. I think I've got Edge running on this one. Okay. So lots of ways to run Python. You have like kind of the native Python interpreter, which in interactive mode, and that will have kind of like this triple greater than sign. That's just for quick scripting, but I don't really recommend it. Other things you can use is you can use a text editor, and then have scripts running somewhere else. There's a few ways to do this. You can also get some kind of graphic interface like VS Code or anything like that. Okay, there's PyCharm. PyCharm is a very popular choice. I've decided to use Jupyter Lab, which is centered around Jupyter Notebooks. But there's a few different options. But in our class, I'm going to just be using Jupyter Lab, which runs off of Jupyter Notebooks here. Okay. When you are working in a Jupyter Notebook, there are basically two modes. There's command mode and there's edit mode, okay? To get into command mode, you hit escape. And when you are in command mode, this bar on the left, this which highlights which cell you are working in, is blue, all right? And you can use your up and down arrows and it will move from one cell to the next cell, okay? To enter edit mode, you hit enter, all right? And you can see that, that the cell has converted into something that I can edit, all right? And then I can escape out, and now I'm back into command mode. When I hit enter, we can see this this blue highlight is centered on this cell, okay? And then I can escape it, and I'm back in command mode. All right, so I can enter this, and now my cursor is moving around within inside the cell. And when I hit escape, and I use the up and down arrow keys, I'm moving from cell to cell. All right, and so sometimes you think you're in command mode and you start typing, or I mean, sometimes you think you're in edit mode and you start typing and you end up jumping around the place or deleting cells or something like that. And sometimes you think you're moving up and down in command mode, but you're just moving around inside a cell. So that's a common thing that happens, okay? So when you are in command mode, you can add cells, okay? So right here, let's say I wanted to add a cell. All right, so I can click run to kind of run the cell. Now I can add the cell by clicking this little plus button. So I select a cell and I click the little plus button and a new cell appears underneath. And I can click a plus button again and a new cell appears underneath. There's a keyboard shortcut, okay? The keyboard shortcut to add a cell is just the letter B, okay? B will add a cell below it. If you're here, A will add a cell above it. To delete a cell, okay, to delete a cell, you have to be in command mode and you type in D twice, DD, right? If you're in edit mode and you type in DD, it's just gonna enter Ds into the cell. You don't wanna be in edit mode. You have to hit escape to be in command mode. You hit D twice and that will delete the cells, okay? Oops, I deleted a cell on accident. If you want to undo that, you can hit Z. Z will be undo, all right? Not Control Z, just Z, okay? DD will delete a cell. Again, you have to be in command mode. If you're in edit mode, you're gonna just end up putting Ds inside your cell. We don't want to do that. We hit escape to get into command mode. Tap D twice, and that will delete a cell. Again, A will insert cells above, B will insert cells below. Is that good? Are you guys trying this out? I don't know. You can cut, copy, and paste cells using X, C, and V. So these are, I think we're accustomed to cut, copy, paste using Control X, Control C, and Control V. Again, in command mode, here's this entire cell here. So this is one entire cell. I can, in command mode, so I'm in command mode, I can just hit C to copy it. I can come down, say here, and I can paste it, V, and it puts it in there. If I want to undo that, I hit Z. Okay, so I can take the entire cell, C to copy, later on V to paste. No need to hold down Control or Command. Oh, I'm getting reports that there is no view quiz today. Oh, you know what? I have to publish it. So on Canvas on my side, there's a little like publish your view quiz. And speaking of which, I should give you your first view quiz answer. Your first view quiz answer today is D, D as in dog, D as in dog, or delete, D. Okay, navigating while you are in command mode. you can just use the up and down arrow keys. You can also use the J and K keys, all right? J and K. It says it's locked. Let me see. Is view quiz? Should not be. Week 1 Friday lecture view quiz.
It starts 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Why did I do that? Okay. All right. I guess 9 a.m. It doesn't matter. All right. We'll figure this out. Okay. Okay, so hopefully this will work. First view quiz answer is D. All right, so you can navigate in your notebook using the J and K cells, and that just keeps you from having to lift your fingers off of your keyboard's home row down to the arrow keys. So, you can just hit escape. You should be able to reach escape quite easily with your pinky on your left hand, and then you can just use J and K rather than having to move your right hand down to the arrow keys. So in Jupyter, we have 3 types of cells. We've got markdown cells, code cells. There's also raw cells. We don't really use the raw cells very frequently. Okay, if you want to, so here I'm going to hit B to insert a new cell here. And by default, it's going to be a code cell. And I can do 4 + 5, and I can hit enter, and it's going to execute that code. All right, I'm gonna hit the play button or shift enter, command enter, and it will execute that. Now, if you want a markdown cell, you can tap the letter M, and it will change to markdown. Now you can do all of this with the mouse as well. You can select a cell and you can change it to markdown, or you can change it back to code. Right, and when it's code, you can run it. And if it's markdown, something like 4 + 5, and you run it, it just renders it. Okay, so what this does is something like when you do a pound and you say header goes here, and you click play, then it's going to render anything like this, right? So it's markdown, so you can do list item, and things like that, and it creates bullets when you click play. Right, so when you're editing, it looks like this, and you click play, and it will render it. Okay, whereas over here, if it's a code cell, you write something like this, it doesn't. This is how you comment out your code. Okay, so you comment out your code, and that's how you get that. So you can switch between markdown by hitting M, and code by hitting Y when you're in command mode. So M and Y. So again, all of these things you can do with the mouse, but I really want to encourage you to learn the keyboard shortcuts. The keyboard shortcuts will make you much more efficient working through all of this stuff. Okay, so again, regular old markdown stuff, you use your hash marks to denote headings, level 1 headings, level 2 headings, level 3 headings, and so on and so forth. With markdown, you can create bulleted lists using the dash, okay? And then you put stars around your text. So if you want to make something bold, you put a single star around it to make, or 2 stars around it to make it bold, single stars around it to make it, to italicize it. Okay. And then you can also insert math by using double $signs. Okay. So for example, when you're in edit mode, you can see this is what the math looks like. It's using LaTeX. And if you're familiar with LaTeX or whatnot, you can, so here I've inserted a cell. I'm going to tap M to switch to markdown mode. And if I want to create some math, I'm going to put some dollar signs. And let's say I wanted to do, yeah, let's say I want to make a fraction, and in the top I can do I r squared, and divide it on the bottom. I can do square root of I don't know, x. Okay, and I'll hit Shift Enter. I didn't like that. Missing a closing parentheses or closing curly brace, and now it renders. Okay, so this is how you would write math, and then when you render it, it turns it into math here. Does Jupyter require internet access? No, you don't need internet access to run Jupyter, right? So you can just, you use your web browser, but the Jupyter is running locally on your machine, okay? So see how it says local host? You don't need the internet to run localhost, okay, to access that. Okay, so I've been talking about this idea of like running or rendering cells. So once you have code in there, or even markdown in there, once you're done editing it, you hit Shift Enter. Okay, Shift Enter will either run the code, or it will render the markdown into display mode, and it will advance to the next cell. Okay, it'll go to the next cell. If you want to just run the current cell, but not advance to the next cell. Okay, so when you click play here, you're going to run it and it advances to the next cell. If you want to just run it but not advance to the next cell, you hit Control Enter or Command Enter. And then if you hit Alt or Option Enter, or is it Control or Command? I'm not sure if it's Command or Control Enter. I know on the Mac there's both Control and a Command key, so I don't know off the top of my head. But it's but generally, Shift Enter is the button you're going to be using the most. Shift Enter will run the current cell and then move to the next one. Shift Enter runs it and moves to the next one. To undo and redo, you can always do Edit, Undo, or Redo. And undo, the quick shortcut is just Z. Z is the undo button. Okay. So that should do it, right? So if I insert something here, I can, well, I don't know. I hit Z. Z will undo it. Z does undo. Okay. And Alt Enter or Option Enter will render it plus insert a new cell. So if I hit Alt Enter here, it's going to run. So here I have this thing, I'm editing it, I hit Alt Enter, it runs it, and now it inserts a new cell. I'm going to hit DD to delete it, D and D, 2 Ds to delete a cell. Okay. Jupyter, as far as the coding part, runs off of what we call IPython. IPython is interactive Python. It takes Python and it gives us some nice features. Okay, so anyway, basic operations, you do your math, right? 2 + 3 is 5, 4 + 5 is 9, and 5 × 5 is 25. If you have multiple operations in a cell, only the last expression, this 5 × 5 is going to get printed as the output. Each cell has one input and one output, okay? Or, I mean, each cell has code inside of it, but it's only allowed to have one output when in interactive Python, okay? If you want stuff to appear, you can use print, okay? But print does not produce an output. Print's output is technically none. So you'll notice I have print 4 + 5, print 5 × 5, and this produces the values 9 and 25 onto the screen, but you'll notice that there's no out here, okay? There's in 1, out 1, in 2, out 2, in 3, and there's no out here, okay? So every cell is allowed to have just one output associated with it, whereas print will display characters onto the screen, and you can have it display multiple things, but it won't actually be associated with an output. You can think of the output as kind of like a return value. And in R, we're accustomed to print will actually return the same value that it shows to the screen. But in Python, print returns none. Okay, it basically returns like a null object, but we call it none in Python. All right, so the IPython cells are preceded by an in with a number indicating kind of the code that you've done. And so as you are working and you modify cells, you're going to see the in change, right? So if I do something here, I've already run a few cells, and so if I do 6 times 5, okay. Oh dear, I broke something here. Let me restart my kernel. Okay, so I've got 6 times 5. Did I break something? Shoot. Okay. My computer doesn't know how to multiply right now. Okay, well, anyway, as you work, you're going to see the in and the out changes. And this allows you to reference older operations. So you can actually, inside Python, you can say, hey, what did I write in for in1? Okay. And back in in1, I had written basic operations, 2 plus 3. And it says, yeah, that's what you wrote. You wrote basic operations, a new line character, 2 plus 3. And then I could say, well, and then what was the output for number 2? What was out 2? You can say out 2, that value was 25, and you can pull that up. Okay. And the way it's stored is in IPython, there's actually a dictionary called out, and it tells you all of the output. So the output of out 1 was 5, out 2 was 25, and out 4, which we had just created here, out 4 was this string output here. Okay, and so that appears in here. Okay, whereas in is a list, and it tells you all of the inputs that were put into it. So this is stored internally in Python, or in IPython. There's an in and an out that we can reference. Here's a few just basic things that we can do in Python that might seem a little strange, but you can actually do a few operations with Python. Let me go ahead and give you your second view quiz answer, though. Second view quiz answer today is D. D is D again. D is in dog. And let me figure out if I can restart and run all cells. We're going to close this. Discard all of these changes. I'll try opening it back up. I seem to be running into problems right now. I think I do need to restart. Not quite sure. Well, anyway, okay. We'll close that down. I'll just kill that. But anyway, the stuff is is working over here. Yeah, that's strange. All right, let me just try running Jupyter Notebook instead. Oh no. Oh, here it is. Okay, so here is here's my cell here, and these are all of these things. I'm just running it, and so here's all of the outputs. But yeah, you can we can do little math operations with strings. So you can take a string like hello, and we can say 3 times hello, and all it will do is it just kind of repeats the string over and over again. You can take 2 strings and add them together, and it just kind of sticks them together, right? So this is just kind of quick and easy ways to kind of concatenate stuff, right? No spaces or anything. This is just to kind of combine strings together. If you have a script, oh, so I need to add the script here. I didn't, I forgot I had created a script in a separate folder. So just give me a second here. I gotta find it. Okay, so here I've got, if I open up this script is just print hello world. Let me, so if you're trying to run it, you're going to run into some problems here. So I'm going to just do git add script 1, 2, so these scripts are now over there. And then again, for you would come over here and you do git fetch upstream and git merge upstream main, and it will download script 1 and script 2. Okay, so these things are over there. Okay, so again, script 1, all it does is says print hello world, and I can run that script from IPython, and you use %run. %run will run the script, and in this case, the script out just prints hello world, and so it runs, and you get spit out here. If I try to run this, it runs now. Okay. Now, let's say inside my script, I have I call variables. So if I look at script 2 says hello plus name. Okay, name being a variable, name some kind of variable, and then it's going to print the string it's Friday. All right. If you want to be able to use values that are defined inside the notebook, you got to run %run-i. So here inside the notebook, I'm going to define a value for name. I'm going to put miles. And if I just run, if I do %run script 2, it gives me back an error. It gives me back name error. It says the name for this variable name here is not defined, because inside this script, if we were to run this, right, in a fresh environment, it's going to say, well, I don't know what this is, right? It's going to say name not found, and name is not defined. So here, I just add the operator -i, the option, run -i, and now this script is running using the values inside that have been defined inside the notebook. Okay. Otherwise, when you click run, when you type in %run, it's running this this script in a separate environment. Okay, it's running this in a separate environment with no access to these values, so it can't do it. But now that I've done %i, it's going to say, oh, name, I see that, that's right here, miles. And so now it's going to print out hello miles, and it's Friday. So you can do that as far as executing scripts from inside of your Jupyter notebook. Okay, you can also run bash commands if you're on a Mac, or even just shell commands, PowerShell commands from if you're on a Windows machine. by kind of preceding it with an exclamation point, okay? So on Windows, there's no function called cat. You can use type. So on if you're on a Mac, you can do %cat, and this will, cat just kind of outputs the contents of a script, or outputs the contents of a file to the screen. And here I get an error. It says cat doesn't work. But on Windows, I can do %type, which is pretty much the exact same thing. And it will say, all right, well, this is the contents of script02.python. And if you recall, that indeed was the contents of the script. Okay, so you can run certain commands from within Jupyter as well. Let me go ahead and give you your final view quiz answer for today. Today's final view quiz answer is the letter A. A as an apple. A as an apple. Okay, you can make references to the last output that was created. So here I got 3 times 9 is 27. And you can use the underscore. The underscore says, hey, what was that last value? Let's take the last value, whatever it was, and subtract 2 from it. And now I get 25. This only works in kind of interactive mode. And so, or interactive Python. And so later on, I would say this is not recommended to regularly use the underscore, but sometimes in a pinch, it's helpful. But yeah, you can just say, hey, what was the last value that we output? And it's just gonna say this was the last value, and you can kind of do operations with it. In general, you should say, if you want to use a value, you usually want to assign it, okay? But if you forgot, and in a pinch, you can do it, right? So normally it should be like 3 times 9, and you'd use the equal sign. A is equal to 3 times 9, and then you can reference A later. But if you forgot to do that, in a pinch, you can use the underscore. You can get help. Any kind of function you want help, you just type in help and the name of the function. So here, one of the most basic functions is print. You can ask help print, and it will give you the manual pages for each of these things. And that tells you, print the value, whoops, any other options, separators, default, and these are the kind of your default characters. The default is system standard out, which is just kind of outputting onto the screen, but you can have it output to a file and things like that. All right, so some basics about Python syntax. You indicate comments with a hash mark. I think that's well understood. Lines terminate the end of a statement. There's no need to use a semicolon, okay? You could use a semicolon if you need to put, say, 2 different lines, 2 different commands on a single line, but generally you don't need to. So here I've got x equals 5 as one thing, and then we're going to print x, and that gets output here. Okay, here I've got y equals 6, semicolon, z equals 7, multiple statements in one line, and I can do this, right? If you have a single line and it's so long you need to have it cover multiple lines, you can use a backslash, or you can enclose it inside parentheses. That's possible. Okay, this is considered bad style. It's usually not recommended unless you're like really trying to conserve space or something. So here you can do 1 + 2 + 3 backslash to indicate that the operation is going to continue on to the next line. And we got that. Or you can just group the operation with parentheses, and that will also be good. And naturally, with structures like a list, and we'll get into that, it's going to keep going until it sees the closing square bracket. Okay. The way we define code blocks, code chunks in Python is using indentation. And that's going to be expected after any time it sees a colon. So here, I've got an if statement, and I realize I'm going over, but I'll just take up one more minute of your time. So the if statement here is these lines that are indented are associated with the if statement. The line that is not indented is not associated with the if statement. So here I've got x is equal to 8, and it says if x is greater than 5, print out x greater than 5, print out the value x, and print out hello. Okay, so these lines are these lines get executed because it's greater than 8. Hello is going to get executed no matter what. Here I have the exact same line, but I've changed x to 4. And so these two lines, which are associated with the if statement, do not get executed because x is not greater than 5. But hello gets executed no matter what, because it's not indented, it's not associated with the if statement. Okay, so on and so forth. Okay. And so here I did not indent the print x, and so this gets executed no matter what, whereas this part only gets executed because it's associated with the if statement. Okay, we'll end here for today. Have a good weekend, everybody, and we shall see you guys on Monday. So have a good weekend. Thank you, and see you guys later.
Thank you, Professor.